To learn about the off-grid lifestyle and to be inspired to live your dreams, click subscribe so you don't miss anything. Hit the bell notification. So today I gotta get the 14 gauge wire put around our new chicken run. Now, as you know, I've bought tents, little camping shelters, gazebos, whatever you want to call them, for our chicken run. And this has worked out really well. We've had a fox down here, kept the fox out, just long enough for me to figure out what to do about the fox, and I got him out of here. But now that we got the meat chickens, this idea won't work. Now, see, what I do is I put all these chickens away at night. The big chickens over there get put into the coop, and these little chickens I still carry into the camper. Now, when they get bigger, these two groups will join together. But right now, the big chickens are kind of rough on the little chickens. We tried to put these little New Hampshires right there in with the Buff Orpingtons over there. And the New Hampshires just wanted to come back here so bad. So we brought them back. So when everybody gets big enough, we'll just open up the fence. There's a fence that separates them. We'll open up the fence and they can join together. But over here, we're going to put our meat chickens. Now, the meat chickens, they're Cornish cross is what they're called. And so I got this set up. The problem is I won't be putting those chickens away each night. Those chickens will stay out here all the time. I'm going to build a little structure out of coroplast. It's not going to be very sturdy, but that's just to give them a little bit of security at night if they want to go in it. At night, raccoons and fox will probably get into this because I, of course, will be asleep and there'll be nothing to distract them. So I'm going to have to build this up. So I'm going to put that 14 gauge wire around it. But Carolyn and I have been talking. This whole thing was supposed to be a temporary structure, not temporary, that's not the wrong word, but I wanted to be able to move it. That's why we did it this way, so we can move it around the yard. But our operation is getting bigger by the moment, which is exactly why we did it this way. Is we could change our mind, we could do whatever it is we wanted to do, whenever we wanted to do it. And so right now we're at a stage where we're changing our mind. We're not going to move this around as much anymore. We may never move it. Carolyn has found a process where you can dump leaves in here and it will compost and it'll give the chickens nutrition because there'll be bugs and things in there they can eat. There's an advantage to this process that she's talking about. And when we do it this fall, we'll show you the whole thing. That's another reason to leave it in here. So we got composting material for the garden, just kind of using nature to recycle everything. So we're looking at just keeping everything here, but it's still got to be able to move. Just in case we want to move it or we want to break it down. For example, we might want to break that down, who knows, after we get the meat chickens done this year. Just want to keep our options open. Now, if we'd have built a permanent structure, I would have probably built it up near the house. I don't know why, it's just that's where I felt like it needed to be. That's the first place we had the coop, was up there by the house, and almost instantly we realized we didn't want it up there. So we moved it around and we finally found a nice little home for this thing. We can expand on it. We can still put another 2 or 3 tents here. I got to clean this area up a little bit, but that's a whole different story. We can come down onto this side over here. And as long as I'm not blocking the sun to the solar panels, I probably could come all the way over to here with it. So that's probably another 1, maybe 2. That's my little guard detector. Don't know if you can hear it, but when you walk in front of it, it sounds an alarm and lights up. It does distract the animals, I noticed. It's close enough to the house that we can still see it. So what we've decided to do is take that 14 gauge wire I just showed you, and we're going to wrap it around everything. That way, even if we want to expand on it, it won't be hard to expand. I can cut a hole in the fence and just expand it. Now, I'm going to put a gate here. So I got to get a fence post. It's not really going to be a fancy gate. It's just going to be something that I can move around, open up and shut. I don't want anything to be able to gate into this. I want to give any animals, any wildlife, a real tough time. The chickens spilt their food, so I got to fix that. Got to check them all the time. I'm going to leave it so I have to climb into here. So I'll put a gate here, I'll climb in, and then I'll have to climb over. That way, if wildlife does get in for some reason, it's got a lot of work to do to get into here. Because like I said, the meat chickens are going to be completely exposed at night. Again, I only have to keep them alive for 2 months. Shouldn't be a big challenge. I think we can do this. I got fence posts out in the woods that I'm going to go and take out of there. They're old fence posts. The fence is falling down. So I'm going to take you out there with me with the lawnmower. The lawnmower sure has opened up a world of opportunities for me. I wouldn't go out there this time of year because of all the snakes and poison ivy and everything, but I get on that lawnmower, it's a lot easier to move around. I had to put tire chains on that. You may remember me putting tire chains on it. Those tire chains have made all the difference in the world from making that lawnmower a lawnmower to a usable piece of equipment. I mean, it's almost as good as a four-wheel drive, I would think. So these chains, I can get up on everything. Okay, so you see how well that lawnmower pulled up that hill. It actually spun the tires a little bit, which I was surprised considering it's done so well by itself. I mean, I guess the trailer added a little bit of oomph to it that it had to push through, but it made it up. So I'm telling you, this is just the way it should be. I just noticed, I cut firewood this last winter, and I left some of it back here. It's too dangerous to pick it up right now because I'm sure there's snakes underneath it, but I'm gonna have to come up and get that sometime. I even got a big block right here. Look at this, there's fence everywhere, just everywhere. Fencing material, just, I've talked about that a lot. Okay, so what I got here is I got some old fence posts that is falling down. I mean, they've used everything. They've used lumber, wood, sticks, branches, whatever you want to call them. And then they got these. So I'm gonna take one of these. I doubt if I'll ever fence it, but if I do, it's just one. And right now, I don't see the need in going and buying one just so I have one when I got them up here. And they're basically all falling down anyways. Okay, so hopefully you can see here that I bought the fence bigger or taller than the tent. And the reason I did that is because I got to figure out how to keep foxes from digging up underneath the fence row. Now, normally what you would do is you cut a line in the grass, or a hole along the fence line, and that way you can bury the fence. But then that takes away from it being mobile, where I can move it around the yard if we ever decide to change our mind. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bend this over right here, and then that'll lay on the ground. So actually what I'm going to do is I'll bend this over to be clearer. I'll bend this up. That will lay on the ground, and then I put bricks along it. That'll keep the fox from being able to dig up underneath it. So now you'll see that this is upright. So when I lift this up, this will lay straight on the ground, and then I can put a block on that, and that'll keep the foxes from getting up underneath it. So I'm zip tying these into place because they're cheap to buy, not a lot of labor, and if I want to move the fence, I can just clip them off and move the fence or move the cage or whatever it is I want to do. This gives me a lot of options. You saw me out in the woods trying to bend that piece of wire and cut it off that fence post. Well, I don't have to do that with this. Just sip a little snip and it comes right off. Somebody suggested that I needed UV resistant zip ties, and I suppose you could, but I'm sure that's going to run up cost. And if one breaks, I'm here all the time. I can just replace it. It's not that big of a deal. I really do think sometimes people overthink things. Analysis paralysis. They just analyze things to death and they never get started because they're paralyzed from all the little minor details. If I see that I have a UV problem later, I can always worry about that later. But right now, I have a chicken problem. I need to get chicken a home. So Carolyn suggested I come on in. She still takes care of me like I'm a kid sometimes. Thinks it's getting too hot out here, which I agree. I was thinking about maybe doing another panel and then quitting, but yeah, this is enough for today. As you can see, over here, I was telling you I was using zip ties, but over here what I did, I was able to leave enough wire off this one when I clipped it that I could just bend it over. And that way I didn't have to use zip ties at all on that. And that's easy enough, I can just bend it back around if I ever want to move it. I've zip tied up here at the top. Yeah, I was talking about analysis paralysis earlier. And I really do think people just overthink things and they work themselves to death. They don't have enough money because of all the materials you got to get. I mean, this thing, the tent was really cheap and I'm able to expand it or take away from it or do whatever I want. And if I ever need to wrap up the operation, I can always sell these. I think simplistic sometimes is the best solution. So I hope I can inspire you to don't freeze up from your analysis paralysis when you're living your dream. Thanks for watching.